Ladies and gentlemen, what J, Miss Sway again. How's dinner so far? You doing okay? We have a number of hotel staff here helping us out and really doing some great work. Let's applaud one more time for them and thank them for feeding us and taking care of us. Come on. We are going to continue on with our program. Brings us up to our keynote speaker this evening. How many people here are huge fans of Ovide Merecredi? Come on, let's hear you. Me included. Big time fan. The bio is absolutely impressive. Former chief, regional chief, national chief. The only thing missing on that bio is the chief of the universe. But we're working on it. We'll see what happens. We're under negotiations and MOUs with galaxies. We're working on it. He's a former spokesperson for treaties, the treaties 1 through 11. And he's currently on his way into the entrepreneurship world. Brings me to a story. As a young man, I traveled around here and there. I used to do a lot of kind of committee work with Nishnawbe-Aski Nation, youth stuff. Traveled to Sandy Lake a couple times. And I used to go through Sioux Lookout. I was traveling out of Sioux Lookout, taking the small little plane down from Sioux Lookout to Thunder Bay. And I'm tall, blame it on my parents. And I'm walking through the plane like this. And it was a very small plane. And there were 2 pilots and 2 passengers on that plane. So I'm walking through the plane and
Hi,
towards
it's
the
just
front of the
NADF.
plane,
We're
I
ready
can
to
see
connect
these
for
feet.
our business sports.
Well, not feet, shoes.
Okay, thank you.
And I look up, and I know who people are, and I know who kind of the big shots are, and I still do. And it was the National Chief, Ovide Merecredi. And we were face to face, 1 foot away from each other. And I'm thinking, what am I going to say to the National Chief? What am I going to say to, in my opinion, one of the greatest national chiefs we've had? Very, very impressive. And I got stuck. I didn't know what to say. The thing that came out of my mouth was so embarrassing. But I looked up 1 foot away from his face and I said this: Indians in the back. Unbelievable, man. And he looked at me with this smile. And I don't know what that smile meant. Whether he was proud or whether he knew that I was destined for great things, or I was just a damn fool. But I recall that day so vividly. And when I meet Ovide again and again across the country and get to introduce him, I like telling that story about one thing that I really, really appreciate about Ovide is like a very gentle, gentle uncle. And I love listening to Ovide because Ovide is sharp, and Ovide is honest, and Ovide tells it like it is. And the only agenda that Ovide has is Ovide wants us to prosper. That's his agenda. And when you have that agenda and you're able to tell the truth and speak the truth, great things are going to happen. It's as a result of a great person. So let's give it up for a keynote speaker, Ovide Merecredi.
He's actually telling the truth. About the encounter, it actually happened. I often wondered about what happened to you, what became of you. But obviously, you didn't remain in the back. So congratulations on your progress and the great work you're doing. I want to begin by acknowledging the organization that invited me to speak tonight and to thank them for inviting me to share my thoughts once again to the people of Northern Ontario about not just opportunities, but the challenges that remain to be dealt with in this country for First Nations people to make the advances they deserve in terms of the economy and social standing within Canada. I have to, first of all, acknowledge the fact that I am in Ojibwe territory, Nishnawbe territory, and thank people from the Fort William First Nation for sharing their land, for being such welcoming guests to all the people in this city. And I'm going to acknowledge Chief George Jan Morriso, who was here at the table I'm sitting at. Later, I want to introduce a special friend of mine. I'm actually going to be sharing the podium today with an amazing person that I met recently, and I'll talk about that later. But I wanted to talk about relationships. It is so important for Aboriginal people not to be the ones that always do the welcoming in this country, but for them also to be welcomed by the rest of society. And whenever I come to Thunder Bay, I'm always impressed with the engagement that non-Aboriginal people have with us. I appreciate that very much. And that bodes very well for the city and for towns like Greenstone that are prepared to collaborate with First Nations people in the future growth of Northern Ontario. It's a good example of what Canada can be, and I appreciate that very much. John Ralston Saul recently wrote a book called A Fair Country. I recommend that you read it. It's really about explaining to the average Canadian what the foundations are of this country. That it's not just French and English, as we were told during the Meech Lake Accord, that the foundation of this country is still Aboriginal, and that those values still inform and instruct this country how to behave, how it should be, with respect to this idea of inclusion and respect for the right to be different. But recently, he wrote a second book, which I'm also going to recommend you read. And it has to do with this idea that the First Nations people, that the Métis people and the Inuit in this country are re-emerging as nations, that they're finding their feet, and that they're beginning to take charge not just of all their life, but their relationships with Canada. That they're going to make great contributions in the future development of their own people, but also in terms of making Canada one of the best countries in the world. And that, to me, is a very positive message, one that I think we should embrace. All of us should embrace that. Because the reality is this, as the Supreme Court has said, Canadians and their governments have to acknowledge that Aboriginal people were here first, that they have treaty and Aboriginal rights that have to be respected, honored, and implemented. And that these rights that they have not only have to be respected by the governments, but have to be acknowledged and implemented by the business community, and by industry. And that means that any future development anywhere in this country must benefit the First Nations people also. That there has to be this idea of mutual gain. That the wealth that is being made on the natural resources of this country have to be shared with the First Nations people as well. And I think there's a second message there that the courts have said, but it's more directed to my people. And what they have said simply is this: and I'm paraphrasing, this is no longer just an Aboriginal country. There's millions and millions and millions of non-Aboriginal people in this country now. And there is no evidence of them going away. So they're going to be part of this country. So in a way, it's a subtle way of saying to the Aboriginal community, people like myself, it's time to get along with them too, right? And that's why I began my talk with this idea that Aboriginal people don't always have to be the ones that do the welcoming. I think it's time for Canadians in general, and in particular the business community, to begin doing the welcoming to the Aboriginal community. And I think that kind of reciprocity would lead to the kind of engagement that we dream about, the ideal engagement where there is development, but development done in a way that respects the values of the Aboriginal people, and development accomplished in a way so that the wealth that is generated is shared with everybody. For the Aboriginal community, this is so important, because that is where the poverty is to be found. That is where the hopelessness will be found. And that is where you will find the social problems. And they're all related to the displacement of Aboriginal people from their homelands. These social problems have an origin. And that origin is not their culture, it's not their history, it's their deprivation, it's their oppression in Canada. So that's why Canadians need to say, okay, we don't want that relationship. That's not our country. That's not the country I want to belong to. The country I want to belong to is where we all get along, but also where we all rise up together, where there is no poverty, that where all people can say with conviction that they belong to a great country. That's what I would like to see. And many Aboriginal leaders are of that same mindset. But unfortunately, because we deal with the problems and because we're advocates for our people, we have to expose those problems. And when we do, people don't appreciate the fact that we're exposing these issues. And many people say, well, there's those Indians again complaining. What more do they want? Well, the reality is, we just want fairness in this country. We want our treaty rights to be respected, honored, and implemented. And we don't want the poverty that's in our community. We're not only tired of it, we're not only tired of it. We find it too depressing. And that's where we need a helping hand. And if the governments are going to be laggards with the helping hand, then the general public should come forward. Individuals should come forward. In whatever field they're in, whether they're in institutions of higher learning, like at universities, or in the high schools, or the elementary schools, or in the business community, like the Royal Bank or whatever, Premier Air, we all have an obligation to lift each other up. And what makes me happy about this gathering is to see how our people are leading the way to this new engagement that we need so much. And I'm particularly encouraged to see different sponsors at this conference, including the Ontario government, because that kind of partnership, also with crown corporations like Hydro, is all necessary, and no one group should carry the load for ending poverty in Canada. It's something that we share together, and it's something that we need to address in common. So let me get a little political for a while, because that part was not political at all. That was just factual. The fact of the matter is that our democracy is lacking. Like, our democracy is imperfect. And it's not just Aboriginal people that feel a sense of alienation from governments. Many Canadians feel the same. And it has to do with the idea that a few people have the power to make decisions for us. And that when they get elected, they believe they have the power to ignore us. And that kind of democracy doesn't belong here. Like, even when it comes to legislation and laws that are made, for example, for the mining industry, the community should be involved, not just in wishing what the law should say, but in shaping the law. That kind of decision should not be left to a handful of people, whether they're in the Ontario legislature or in Parliament, a handful of people that are vulnerable to special interests. And special interests, you know what that means. Because sometimes people say maybe the mining companies or business might have too much influence on government. And that may be the case. But we need to balance it. And the only way you can balance the voice of the people is to allow the people's voice to be heard. Not just during election time, but between elections, to have a direct role in governing this country. So a good place to start, I think, would be for Canada to say to Aboriginal people, we recognize your sovereignty. We recognize your right to govern yourselves. We recognize that you need more land base, more resources to create wealth, and we're prepared to give you more land base and more resources to create that wealth. We recognize that you are part of this country, that you are one of the founders of this country. And by recognizing that, we believe that the way forward is to give you that recognition and the capacity to make decisions, important decisions, about the future development of your territories. That's what I'd like to see. I would like to see a leader from Ontario or Manitoba make that courageous step so that the rest of us can follow that lead and support that decision and make it possible for Aboriginal people not just to be the recipients of the development, but also the leaders and the directors of development in their territories. Because the reality is, if you're not part of the action, if you're just a recipient of other people's decisions, you're likely to oppose it for that reason only. But you have the power to decide the future of your region, and you exercise that power with respect to that future of that region, you're more likely to be supported, because it's also your decision. So you can't just say, well, there they go again, making decisions without us, right? But if Aboriginal people have the decision-making power, they will use it in a wise way. They're not going to oppose development just because they don't want development. But what they will do, though, is insist that the development does a number of things. One is that the environment is protected, that their lands and their waters are not destroyed. Secondly, they will insist that whatever wealth is generated, that wealth is shared with them, that a lot of that wealth should remain in their community so they can develop their people, so they can build their own schools, their own water and sewer. They can create their own research to bring in different energy into their community, so they're not reliant on diesel power only. And with wealth, if they had the wealth, as they should, then they could get involved directly in financing these projects themselves without relying on handouts from the federal government or the provinces, or without dreaming for that businessman that's going to come with a fistful of dollars to help them create the wealth that they need. If we had the wealth that the provinces have, the wealth that the federal government has, that comes from the natural resources of this country, we would not wait to fix that bridge that Chief Jordan Morrison needs fixed to make sure that our people gets passage to our community. We would do it. That's the point. That if you are in control of that kind of wealth, you can make decisions that will benefit your people. And that is what's been missing so far in the Aboriginal community, is that power to do that. So, I'll stop there, because I want to introduce to you my special guest. And I want the people in Northern Ontario, not just the Aboriginal people, but the non-Aboriginal people also, to understand that we're not stuck with the status quo in terms of how we finance projects. We're not stuck with the status quo or business as usual in terms of how we proceed with development. That we can learn from other jurisdictions, from other countries, from other individuals who have been involved in major projects worth in the billions to improve the economic future of many countries in the world. But I think what I did was I left that page in that table. So I'm going to have to take some time and go find it. But I have an assistant anyway, Brian Davey, the CEO for this organization. But guess who came instead? My guest. Samer Salama is currently the CEO of Azteca Telecom and Total Movies with Grupa Salinas. He was telling me that they employ, he can correct me this, he can correct me when he gets up here, approximately 110,000 people in 12 countries. And he is the CEO of the Salinas Grupos. He has over 24 years of experience as an executive leader in telecommunications, the industry in the United States, in Latin America, and the Middle East. He's got a very well-known reputation in the international telecommunications field as a distinguished marketing strategist, a turnaround specialist, and a broker of multi-billion-dollar mergers and acquisitions. And you can see that from the handout that was given to you that he also has his past experience of being involved in many other organizations, which I will not mention. But he holds a master's degree in international business from the Fletcher School and a Bachelor of Science. That's not BS, that's a Bachelor of Science. In management and economics from the Polytechnic University. I got that guy laughing. So currently he formed the company in British Columbia, and they're proposing to build the greenest refinery in northern BC. There was a big article about him and his company in the Financial Post a few weeks back. I forget I think it's a $12 billion project that he's engaged in right now. And the company in BC is called Future Energy something. He knows. Now, how did I find this guy? Well, I'm very good friends with Sean Atleo, the former national chief. I've always supported him. He's always been my friend. And I was in British Columbia a few weeks back, and Sean invited me to a meeting where Samer was present, in fact, in his office. And I said to myself, after listening to him and his colleagues, I think my people need to hear this man. So I'm going to invite him, even though I have no authority to invite him. I'm going to invite him to come to this conference, this particular conference we're in right now, because I'm a speaker there anyway. So what I'm going to do is share my time with him, is what I thought. So when we finished the meeting, I said, would you like to come to Northern Ontario and meet some of the people there? And he said, sure. Well, so I thought nothing of it. So I sent him an email via Atleo. I said, please tell Samer that I know how busy he is. After I read the article in the Financial Post, I know this man was very big. I said, please tell Samer that I don't hold him to his promise to come to Northern Ontario. Within a few minutes, I got an email saying, I will be there. And he traveled from his headquarters. He traveled all day yesterday to come here, and he traveled. So let's welcome Samer, who will be speaking to you now.
Good evening. I have to confess, when I accepted the invitation from Ovide, I had no idea this is I was going to end up here today in front of, I thought it was going to be like 10, 20 people in the room where I could share some of my experiences, because he didn't tell you how this thing started. When we started the meeting, somehow he got me to talk about my life story, which I never do. And at the end, it's like, would you mind sharing that with some people back in Thunder Bay? Of course, if I had known when Thunder Bay was on the map, I probably would have thought about it twice, but I didn't know. So I said, sure. And here I am now. I'm supposed to share my life story with a small audience. So before I start, I actually would like to acknowledge the chief of the Fort William National First Nation, in whose traditional territory, of course, we are, and any chiefs and elders present from the, sorry if I mispronounced the name, Nishnawbe-Aski Nation, territory of Treaty 9, and the Ontario portion of Treaty 5, whose entrepreneurs we are honoring today. So what's interesting, I came to Canada obviously many times as a tourist, but about a year ago, I got involved in a big project. As Ovide said, we're doing an $11 billion refinery in Prince Rupert, in the Prince Rupert area in British Columbia. This probably will be one of the biggest projects ever done in Canada. And about 2 weeks ago, I had the pleasure of being the keynote speaker at the Energy Roundtable in Calgary in front of most of the oil patch people. And I said that we recognize First Nations as an order of government, and that this is how we engage with the First Nations. You can imagine some of the raised eyebrows in the room. But what was even better is that most people actually finally started shaking their heads and realizing that this is the only way you can actually move forward, that this is the process by which you can actually build such a project like this on traditional land. So when we started this project about a year ago, I was lucky enough to meet somebody who has become a very good friend of mine, Jeffrey Coppinance. Jeffrey was the chief negotiator for the Kelowna Accord under Prime Minister Paul Martin. Jeffrey has been, in many ways, a mentor to me, because I have to confess, when I came to Canada, I had no idea what the situation was here. And I was just mentioning the table earlier, it's really shocking in many ways. And if you will humor me for a second if I share this story. So I was born in Lebanon. If you don't know where Lebanon is, it's at the end of the Mediterranean Sea between Syria and Israel. So we know something about war, and I grew up in that world. In fact, if I go further, I was born in a Catholic country, so we're 4 million people surrounded by 1 billion Muslims. So if you think about the ways that you can get discriminated against, it could be along ethnic lines. I don't have to explain that to you. But there's also a religious line. So for the last 1,400 years, at different times, we've been exterminated down to less than 1% of the population. They've done everything to take us down to zero. So for about 100 years, we lived in caves and survived. This was about 800 years ago. So we do know something about these issues. And in fact, for the last 400 years under the Ottoman Empire, we're not allowed to hold land at all. So how did we survive? Education. We became the doctors, the engineers, the architects, the writers, the philosophers of the entire Middle East. 1 billion people, we produce about 96% of every book, history, movie, song, written in the entire Middle East was done by people from Lebanon. This is how we survived through 1,400 years of pretty much extermination. So we share that background, although in a different way. So when I came to France, where I grew up, we arrived with the clothes on our back, basically with nothing. Started working when I was 14, and at 19, I arrived into the US. So I left France with $200. I landed in the US with 197. So everybody asked me what happened to the three. Well, the plane I took from Paris to New York couldn't make the way all the way through the Atlantic. We had to land in Gander, and I had my first ice cream. So $3 for ice cream. That's how I got to New York, $197 one way. That was in 2000 and that was in 84. In 97, I was the CEO of a publicly traded company on NASDAQ. The company was worth $3 billion. I had made well over $20 million myself. And in the process, I had gone to Mexico, and I had worked for a guy called Carlos Slim. Carlos is the richest man in the world. He's worth $72 billion as of the last magazine of Fortune. I ran his business globally. In 2001, I resigned. So when I left, he offered me $100 million. I was 31 years old. I had 40,000 employees. And he offered me $100 million to stay. 99% of the people I tell the story to either don't believe it, or they tell me I'm the biggest idiot on the face of the world, which I might be. But the reason I didn't accept it is because there's something called you cannot sell who you are. You have to stay true to yourself. And the reason I'm telling you all of this is when we come to economic development and the pursuit of wealth, which is something it's the subject of my conversation and what Ovide asked me to share with you. There's nothing wrong with the pursuit of wealth. What happens along the way and what you're willing to sacrifice to get there, that's the problem. Done the right way, wealth gives you economic empowerment. What that means is you're no longer dependent on handouts from the government. This gives you the position of strength from which you should be negotiating, sitting on the table negotiating from a position of strength, not a position of weakness. To do that, you have to accomplish economic power and political power. If you're not contributing to the political process, these people don't care. Politicians only care about the people who get them elected. If you're not getting them elected, they're not going to respect your views and they're not going to support you. If you have an economic power, you're not going to have the education, the health, the infrastructure to support your communities and to promote your individual cultures and languages and histories in your communities. You need infrastructure to do that. All that takes money. So when I talk about economic power and the pursuit of wealth, there's two ways to do it. So Sean Atleo, somebody I'm proud to call a friend, gave me a book from his dad called Sawak, and Richard Atleo. And the reason he gave me that, the night before I was having dinner with him, and I was talking about my view that he was telling me how surprised he was that I'm a big executive in a big company, and yet I care about such things as the environment, about treating people well. And he's telling me, listen, in Canada, all the big companies say, oh, you can't do that. You can't make money and do those things. And I said, bullshit. In that case, it is BS. That's absolutely not true. I've made billions of dollars doing exactly that. And I said, I have this view of the world which is all connected. And I didn't know there was a word for it. So he shows up the next day, he said, Samer, it's called Sawak. And this is what in his native language it's called. This community of one between human beings, nature, and animals. And this is how this whole thing started. I get to meet the rest of the team, and here I am today. So, in his book, he talks about if you don't do the economic development well, then you get into the two crises that we face today. Humanity versus humanity. This is Richard Atleo's book. Humanity versus humanity, which is the wars, the terrorism, and all the acts of terror and crime that we face. Or humanity versus nature, versus the environment. Why? Because if people don't assign value to the environment, to human nature, and to the nature around them, then you end up with situations like they flood a valley to create a dam without having a value for the suffering they're imposing on people, right? Or they do what Enbridge wanted to do and build a pipeline to ship raw crude out of Alberta and put it on tankers. So if you think Exxon Valdez was bad, each one of those things is 10 times bigger than Exxon Valdez with far worse crude. And if one of those ships goes down, it will ruin and kill every animal on the entire west coast of Canada. Every single one. And there's no technology to clean it up. So when I got here and I was talking about doing a refinery, I went with Jeff Copenance. We took a helicopter up on the Douglas Channel. And after 10 minutes, I turned to Jeff and I said, have these guys ever come here? Did they realize what they're doing? Have they actually flown through this channel? They're going to ship 220 of these 2 million barrels a day boats through the Douglas Channel and up through the Hecate Strait, the fourth most dangerous body of water on the face of the planet. What were they thinking? So, and here's what they were thinking. I went to business school. And in business school, the problem is every businessman out there knows one thing. Because if you don't know it, you fail and you don't pass your exam. Your primary responsibility is to your shareholders. Your second one is to yourself. So when you do that, you forget a simple thing. When you do your numbers, your revenue, your expense, you look at your cash flow, and you value an investment based on the value of the investment, those Excel sheets don't have a formula that says, what's the value of the humans that you are displacing by doing this project? What's the value of the environmental impact that you're having by doing this project? How do you value those things? Well, guess what? They're not valued. They're not in the Excel sheets. They have no value to the business leaders who are making those decisions every day. This is why you end up in a situation you of all people know far better than most other people. Because decisions are being made but without taking any consideration for the impact and what could happen when done the wrong way. And guess what? They're always done the wrong way, or almost always. So, but that doesn't have to be this way. It really doesn't. You can do it the right way, but so everybody asks me, so what's the formula? Well, there's no formula. This is the difficult thing. There is no one formula that allows you to sit down, negotiate a good deal with a company. Every business case is different. Every deal is different. You have to understand the value of the case and try to figure out a win-win situation. But you're incredibly lucky in a sense you're sitting on one of the biggest natural reserves in the world. It's mostly untapped. There is a way to do it in the right way that creates a win-win situation where you can finally get the economic independence and power to change the value scale. If you're waiting for the government to do it, good luck. It's not going to happen. They have no incentive to do so. That has to come from you. It has to come from the leaders. It has to come from the individual people on the ground who come back and say, we're open for business. So the first thing people told me when I came here, opened the company, I said, oh, First Nations are going to want to do with you. I'm like, why not? Oh, no, they're against business development. I said, that can't be true. I'm missing something here. That cannot be true. Guess what? I was right. They were wrong. We are now invited by 3 First Nation groups in BC to come and do our project on their land. When you engage them as an order of government, when you engage them not saying, hey, here's my project, sign here, here's your commission, I'm going to trace some people for you, but you come in and say, here's my project, you tell me what do you think? Does this make sense for you? If it does make sense for you, why would you want me to build it? Let's find a mutually beneficial way to build this project together. Here is a plan that in 10 years, you will, not just small jobs in the refinery, all the jobs in the refinery, including the management of the company, will be done by your people. We will train you and train the next generation of leaders for the next 20, 30, 40 years. That's how you build business. So anyway, I'm proud to be here. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me. And I will close this in the dedication that Richard Atleo put in my book, which says, across cultures and continents, we are all one. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, let's give it up. Come on. Ovide and Sammer. We just showed up, Sammer. Well, we have a prize for you. A prize? What am I talking about? Prize. I'm going to edit this out. And also Ovide, on behalf of the sponsors, NADF, the board, and the entire gang, thank you so much for your words of wisdom, and thank you so much for being here. Sammer said he did some work in Mexico, and I spent some time in Mexico as a tourist. Yeah. And I'm brown, so I fit in. And I was in Los Cabos, walking down the street. Selling some cohiba with the smoke. And he goes like he's smoking, he's drinking, and he's sitting on the streets, kind of tucked into the corner somewhere and walking. He goes like this. And I look at him and I look at him, and something amazing happened. We do the whole nod, he did the nod, and I'm like, dude, come on, I'm home. I'm home. And I went, amigo, hola amigo. That's all I know. Amigo. Hola. Amigo. And then he said something that really I felt like home. I thought you were my cousin. Like, oh. I like to fit it. So I said, amigo, I'd really love to have a Mexican name. I'd like you to give me a Mexican name. Amigo, I will name you after my cousin. His name is Pancho. I'm like, so my name is Pancho. I like that. I like it. It's kind of like poncho, kind of like raincoat. But I'm okay with Pancho. What about the last name? He goes, Leo, I'm going to name you after the weather. It's hot. It's very hot. I'm going to name you Pancho Caliente. He's hot Pancho. And it's fitting because when you look at that screen, I look like I'm always sweating. I got some serious T-zone issues. Many of the ladies have the little paper things that kind of take a I really, really love some of the paper that helped me. And when Summer was up here, he was kind of talking about his work in Mexico, it just kind of brought me back. And you can tell he's a rich guy because he can stand up in front of a bunch of Indians and swear. I guess the bounty place would say he's got moose balls. He's got some guts. But that was a great speech from both of them. Sometimes you wonder if people would fit in, and Ovide fits in anywhere, but I think Ovide made a great call by having Sammer here. So let's thank them one more time. It's time to give away some awards. Are we ready? First thing off the hop, I would like everybody to hold your applause until the end of the evening. What is this, a convocation? Huh? What is this? What is this? No. I want everybody to go wild. I want to hear some duck calls. I want to hear some goose calls. I want to hear some moose calls. Do it again. Donald Duck's in the house. Let's get wild, man. Like, let's not hold back. Let's get a little crazy. Let's feel the vibe, and let's have every single recipient tonight feel absolutely incredible, because that's what they are. So we have our very first award tonight. Our very first award tonight is the Partnership of the Year. I would like to call upon the presenter of this award, the chair of the Nishnawbe-Aski Development Fund, Arlene Meekis Young. One more time for Arlene! The recipient this evening. Oh, come on, pressure's on that. Come on. The recipient this evening. I got a bio. So I'm going to read bio and say really loud who the recipient is, and you go crazy. Whenever you want a warm and clean accommodation with home-cooked meals and a friendly atmosphere in Sandy Lake First Station, you should contact Joseph and Linda Fiddler. Proprietors of the Sandy Lake Motel, yo. Keep it up. Joseph and Linda Fiddler are the epitome of a perfect partnership. They are husband and wife team and parents of 3 adult children that all help provide top-notch service at the motel. This active partnership has successfully operated the Sandy Lake Motel since 1995. That is good stuff. 3 people agree. And as a result, they have not had a request, they have not had to request any additional financing since opening, and have been an ideal business model for on-reserve entrepreneurship. I don't agree, also for off-reserve entrepreneurship. In my humble opinion, who agrees? Come on. Prior to starting up the Sandy Lake Motel with his wife by his side, Joseph had been employed by the Sandy Lake First Nation in several positions. Through his various roles with the First Nation, he was able to accumulate a vast amount of valuable experience that has helped propel him in the business operations. Linda is hands-on. And anyone who has raised children knows that caring for 3 children is no easy task. One that needs astute management and organizational skills in order to run a good household. It isn't hard to tell that the diverse skills, coupled with their enthusiasm and great chemistry, is a part of the reason for the success of the Sandy Lake Motel. In November, there's lots to go, don't worry about it. Take your time. In November 2010, Joseph and Linda acquired the bunkhouse next door to the motel from Sandy Lake First Nation, thereby expanding their operations. The bunkhouse, now renamed the Annex, is primarily used to house contractors working in the community. Coming in 2012. That doesn't make sense. Oh, coming in 2012, okay. I think this is written in 2010. Joseph and Linda will be expanding their accommodation offerings to the guests. Construction is set to begin in an 8-unit motel that will provide guests with private suites and washrooms. And even though their motel is expanding, Joseph and Linda will be there to greet their guests, offering the same customer-first service. They have built their reputation up. The expansion of the 8-room building, which boasts private rooms. Let's have a huge 24th anniversary edition of the Business Awards for our very first award this evening, Sandy Lake Motel!
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to be here, especially after Ovide and his partner. And it's, I'd like to say thank you to a few people, especially my partner since 1971. And as you heard, we've been in business since July the 1st, 1995. And there's other people that I need to really thank, my children and my grandchildren. You know, a few years back in our anniversary, Linda sent me a note or a card. It said, thank you for the 40-some years, I forget how many, after 40 years. And thank you for the 2 children. And most of all, thank you for your patience. And every now and then people ask us, how do you get along as a partner in business? You know, like in everything that you do, it takes work, it takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of sacrifice, and you have to be committed to it. And that's what we try to do in both our partnership and in our relationship. And we try so hard to bring up our children well, you know, to respect God, to love God, and to help other people. And I'd like to say thank you to different organizations. The Sandy Lake First Nations helped us out, ABC, the Northern Ontario Heritage, NADF, and especially I would like to thank, I don't think he's here, Charlton. He's been a lot of help to our business and in recommending and advising and like we get it. You know, it's been a good run. Like since 1991 or 1971. And since 1995. Okay, thank you so much.
Absolutely beautiful Sandy Lake Motel. Come on, get up one more time. We're going to have all the winners at some point to head out over here and around this wall over here. There's the NADF signage. We're going to get you to take pictures there. So at some point, Sandy Lake Motel, we're going to have you head over that way. Take some shots, okay? All right? Recapturing the magic together. Wonderful. Congratulations again. That was really heartfelt. I'd now like to call upon to present the Corporation of the Year, sponsored by Ontario Power Generation. I'd like to call upon Aaron Delpino. Aaron.
Tough act to follow. Anybody else want to go second? So Ontario Power Generation is once again proud and pleased to be here. It's our 9th year sponsoring this event, and we're pleased to announce the Corporation of the Year award goes to Kitchenuhmaykoobslb Inninuwug Telecom Centre Incorporated. Kitchenuhmaykoobslb Inninuwug Telecom Centre was incorporated in April of 2004 as a big business venture under KI Economic Development to provide telecommunication needs to the community. Since its inception, KI Telecom Inc. has expanded its services to include the following: cable television, comprising of 48 mainstream channels, including 1 channel for local programming and broadcasting, 1 channel for strictly local announcements, and 1 channel dedicated to the KI Chief and Council meetings. Local programming provides historical and educational material for youth, particularly related to the cultural ways of life of Indigenous people. Video recordings are made related to hunting, fishing, and trapping, including a how-to in properly skinning game and preparing traditional foods for consumption. Second, internet services. Along with provisions of supplies and equipment associated with technology, recently upgraded the internet equipment to accommodate the fiber optic cable systems, providing the community with access to the World Wide Web. And third, cell phone system, including providing cell phones and cell phone cards for sale. The business provides full-time employment for 3 people and 1 part-time position, including a summer student. KI Telecom Inc. contributes to community events, including being a major contributor for the Homecoming 2014, supporting local fundraisers, and contributing to spiritual events such as summer camp meetings, gospel jamborees, and community gatherings. KI Telecom Centre is presently looking at the possibility of expanding its services and has recently completed a feasibility study and business plan to explore these additional services. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, representing KI Telecom, Bruce Sagakeep, KI Economic Development Manager. Bruce.
Bonjour, Roger. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Food was good. I'd like to acknowledge NADF for providing us a loan. I had the opportunity of working with, geez, that name just slipped my mind. There was a lady that used to work, I think she still works over there at NADF. My apologies. Anyway, I'd like to acknowledge NADF for providing us a loan to do more expansion on our telecommunications center in KI. Also, I'd like to acknowledge Chief Donnie Morris for giving us the direction when we got hired back in 2010 to try and restructure our organization and solidify our telecommunications system. I think we're on the right path. We're still looking for ways to improve our system. I'd like to acknowledge the staff that I work with, my former assistant who got seconded to another position, and also to the current finance person, Anne-Marie and Chris and William. Thank you very much for helping me out. I hope we can move forward together with all the resources in front of us. So, and most of all, I want to acknowledge the people of KI, our customers, our clientele, for providing the support and ensuring that we function as a business. Thank you very much.
Come on, let's give it up nice and loud. Come on, let's go! This is big time, man! KI, Telecom. Okay, here we go. Where are we at here? Number 3, huh? Okay. To present the Building Communities of the Year Award, I'd like to call upon Director, Travis? Director? Pardon? Chief. And Council. Nigani Investment Management, we thank you for your sponsorship. I'd like to call upon Director Travis Busno. Travis.
We've been rehearsing this for about 2 minutes now, so don't mind if we're a little disorganized. Stan, thanks again for bringing all the energy and putting a lot of pressure on the rest of us. I asked him to tone it down a bit, but he doesn't know how, so he just tones it up. But anyway, before I mention the recipient of this award, I want to mention about Stan, because I know the speakers and stuff, the people who MC these events, they don't get as much credit as they deserve, but I've met Stan for about 10 years ago, and he's been doing this all across the country. He's absolutely phenomenal, high energy and great spirit, and I've probably been in the best mood that I've been in since my second child, I guess, but I'm kidding. No, he's just a great man. Anyway, thanks, Stan. So the Building Communities Award goes to Derek Chum. He's the CEO of Moose Cree Group of Companies. In the early 80s, the Moose Band Development Corporation was incorporated after several years of Moose Cree First Nation attempting to develop an economic arm. So the Moose Cree Group of Companies was developed, and they initially started as a small company with little funds, and they began to undertake some projects within the community. The corporation, after focusing on the local economic opportunities, recognized that in order to prosper and move forward, they would have to seek out other business ventures. So in 2003, they acquired CS Enterprises from a local logging contractor, and CS Enterprises was a private company. Subsequent to the acquisition, CS Enterprises, the company saw another opportunity to get into tourism. So what they did was that they bought Kasagami Lake Lodge, which is a remote fly-in lodge. And from there, they grew some more and bought Cochrane Air Services. And by purchasing Cochrane Air Services, it allowed them to service their various outpost camps. But most recently, in 2013, Cochrane Air Service acquired an additional 11 locations from a competing outfitter, making Cochrane Air Service the largest remote tourism outfitter in North America. They cater more than 600 customers. I'm not done yet. They just keep going. So grab a coffee. In 2010, Moose Band Development Corporation, through its subsidiary CS Enterprises, entered into discussions to acquire the woodlands operations from Resolute Forest Products. In June 2010, under the newly formed company called Three Nations Lodging, the first forestry contract was signed. Today, Three Nations Lodging, the backbone of the corporation, is considered the primary supplier of roundwood to Tembec Sawmill in Cochrane, Ontario, delivering in excess of 250,000 square meters of wood. In 2014, after more than 30 years, Moose Cree First Nation and the corporation amended its relationship to one of a limited partnership, and the name changed from Moose Band Development Corporation to what is now known as Moose Cree Group of Companies Limited Partnership. Some 25 years after its inception, Moose Band Development Corporation has grown to becoming one of the largest and best logging contractors in the region, with an experienced workforce and staff. The Moose Cree Group of Companies has, over the course of the past year, provided community benefits in several different areas, from forestry training programs, summer student programs, donations to various events within and outside of the community, and employment opportunities for members of Moose Cree First Nation, as well as non-members of the community as well. So with that, I'd like to call up Derek Chum to receive the prestigious award.
These are mine.
All right. Thank you, Travis. Thank you to NADF, the board of NADF, Brian Davey, and the rest of the NADF staff. I want to thank the management of the Moose Cree Group of Companies, our CEO, Rick Poulin, our finance director, our operations manager, and our staff in Moosonee and Moose Factory in Cochrane. I also want to thank my fellow board members, our shareholder, the Moose Cree First Nation, and our partners, clients, and customers. This has been a great year for us, and we look forward to growing our business further now that we have in place a solid, disciplined management team and build upon last year's success. Last year, we had our most profitable year ever. We cut the most wood ever. We had our most visitors ever to our fly-in camps, and the trajectory is only going up. We also look forward to hiring more Moose Cree members and to make the Moose Cree Group of Companies a desirable place for Moose Cree members to build their careers. Thank you very much again for this award.
Moose Cree First Nation! I'm a terrible shot. Off to our next award. I'd like to call upon RBC, and thank you so much, RBC, for your sponsorship. And of course, this award is the New Business of the Year. I'd like to call upon Herb Zobel. Herb.
Obviously, we'd like to thank NADF for again having the opportunity to work with you this year in the Business Awards. The new Business of the Year goes to Stanley Bluecoat from Sunset Lodge's Bed and Breakfast. Sunset Lodge is now in its 4th year of operation. The company started with the intention of helping to address Kitchenuhmaykoobslb's shortfall with accommodation. 2011, Stanley proposed an adventure to build a 3-bedroom lodge accommodation building in the back of the community. The project started with the support of Kitchenuhmaykoobslb, Inninuwug's creditors, lenders, and with a heavy investment from Stanley. The company jumped into the unknown where others had mostly failed in the past. Business went so well with the 3-bedroom Sunset Lodge the first 2 years that Stanley dreamt to seek funding for another building. And so with the help of local entrepreneurs, outside technical expertise and engineering, the dream was drafted on paper. Originally thinking was that the project might take a long period to realize. However, after submitting requests for grants, applications to creditors and lenders, and with surety of money by the proponent, the project was realized within 1 year from start to finish. In 2013, Stanley opened a 6-room building to the public, in addition to his other one. In 2014, extreme hard work and personality to match, Mr. Stanley Bluecoat, Sunset Lodges, has received acclaimed review, and is the only current accommodation provided to KI. Sunset Lodge's Bed and Breakfast has provided sincere accommodations to many visiting VIPs over the past 4 years. Most recently, Sunset Lodge's Bed and Breakfast VIP guest list included a royal visit, the Countess of Wessex, wife of Prince Edward, who is the youngest son of the Queen and Prince Philip, making a highly unusual 2-day visit to the community. This was the first royal visit since its treaty was signed in 1929. I'd like to congratulate and call up Stanley Bluecoat.
Good evening, amigos. When I first started sharing my house with others who had business in KI, I never thought I would hosting a royal visit, which is probably once in a lifetime opportunity, hosting the Premier of Ontario when Premier Kathleen Wynne came along with the royal visit. It was very first time provincial premier ever set foot in KI. I also hosted the Governor General's wife and also the Lieutenant Governor's wife. I also hosted the journalists, film crews, law enforcement, and others. There had been all kinds of people staying there, and I'm meeting and getting to know a lot of people from across Canada and different parts of the world. I didn't think that I would be getting into a bed and breakfast business. I learned that it requires long hours, long hard work, patience, determination to ensure success. Many times I had to stay in my cabin when my first house was filled with guests, I realized I required an additional building so I could fill out the application. So Nishnawbe-Aski Development Fund, NADF, to help me buy materials for another accommodation unit. I would like to acknowledge NADF for their support and approval for my application, enable me to get another house with additional 6 units. Today, with the support of NADF, I have two houses, 9-bedroom units, which have become a home away from home for lots of visitors who come to stay at the Sunset Lodge. My guest has not only been royalty like Sophie Riley-Jones, the Duchess of Welsey, or Kathleen Wynne, the Premier of Ontario. It has included other distinguished guests like our Master of Ceremonies, Stan Wesley. I would like to thank you for honoring me tonight. This award and encourage you to take a leap, faith, and start businesses in the communities. With great humbleness, I thank you. Kitchenuhmaykoobslb.
Stanley Bluecoat! Couldn't have bought a blue suit, eh? Well, he didn't tell you the time I stayed there, and he made moose stew and dumplings. And then he said, when it's ready, just eat. I ate it all. I ate it all. I didn't even keep anything from. I'm sorry, Stanley. It was that good. It was that good. That day, it was a bed and dinner. So thank you. I still very, very thank you for that. Very, very good. Not every guest is getting that. Not every guest. Just me. Just Banuk. Just Banuk. Because I'm deadly. That's why. Because I'm deadly. That means good. If you don't. That means good. That means good. Stanley, once again, congratulations. You're doing some great work up there. Congratulations. We have our next award, and the next award is sponsored, and thank you again, sponsors. From the Ministry of Northern Development and Mines, I'd like to call upon the presenter, Peter Hines. Peter.
And Stan, when I grow up, I want your hair. You can't pay for hair like that, I tell you. And thank you, Stan, for calling me up to the podium. Good evening, everybody. I'm Peter Hintz. I'm a senior policy advisor with the Ministry of Northern Development and Mines. I'm here on behalf of our director of the Ontario Geological Survey, Andy Fionn, who has presented this award for several years, but because of eye surgery, he couldn't fly over 10 feet, and as such, couldn't get here from Sudbury. It is a great pleasure for MD&M to present again this year the Youth Entrepreneur of the Year Award. It's a special award for our ministry. During the course of our collaboration discussions and engagements with communities, First Nations people, and organizations, we hear over and over from the communities how important the youth are. They are our future. This award is one important way it recognizes to inspire, or to recognize and inspire the youth who choose to pursue their business in support of their communities, their families, and their individual futures. So I'm going to invite Matthew up here so that as I read the citation, your focus is on him, and I'm just a talking head then. So Matthew, come on up. Woo! Matthew Gladue is a member of the Sandpoint First Nation, Matthew's been employed in carpentry for 10 years and became a certified Red Seal journeyman carpenter 5 years ago. At the young age of 21, Matthew relocated to Calgary to seek employment and eventually found a job framing houses. This was the start of his career in carpentry. After dedicating many hours in the residential carpentry industry, Matthew jumped at the opportunity to work in industrial carpentry on the Jackfish project in northern Alberta. There he applied his learned skills and acquired new skills of the trade. Upon completing that project, Matthew relocated to Canmore, Alberta, and there he helped frame the beautiful Spring Creek Mountain Village condos in the Rocky Mountains, acquiring commercial carpentry skill. And if you go online, take a look at those, you'd love them, and amazing work, amazing work. After completing the condos, Matthew returned to Calgary and enrolled with the Southern Alberta Institute of Technology and was successful in obtaining his certification as a Red Seal journeyman carpenter. Matthew returned to Thunder Bay with his young family, where he secured several contracts with homeowners and applied his carpentry skills to construct residential properties. He has also worked with several local businesses, including The Foundry, Naxos Grill, and The Bean Fiend. Matthew's most notable accomplishment to date is securing a contract with Outlast Frames to build timber frame homes, and he and his crew have constructed 5 custom timber frame homes. His relationship with Outlast Frames continues, and they still have a great working relationship. Matthew has gained a strong reputation, and his business has achieved great success. Matthew attributes much of the quality work to having a strong crew who continues to do immaculate work for their clients. M Squared Carpentry sets their goals and aspirations high and continue to achieve them. Matthew, congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here tonight. First off, I'd like to thank NADF for having such an award. I had no idea. This kind of just came out of nowhere, and it was perfect timing for the company and for my crew. It's really going to help us out big time. All of you here tonight for coming out and making this all possible. All the sponsors, my sponsor, my family, my crew. This isn't just about me. I'd like to thank Port Ridley First Nations for allowing us to have this event here on the land. All the people in my career that have helped me. I've been to Nunavut, to Alberta, Ontario, and every step of the way, there's my journeyman, whoever it was, project managers have always been there to help me, to get me where I am today. So there's a lot of people involved with me standing here today talking with you. So thank you very much for this award, and we're looking forward to see you again next year, and maybe we'll put another one on the shelf. That's great. Thank you very much.
Youth Entrepreneur of the Year. Well done, sir. Well done. I like that attitude. We'll see you next year as I win again for the 2nd year in a row. I dig it. I dig it. I one day hope to win or even be nominated. It'd be nice. Come on, Ed. Okay, here we go. Next award. The next award is the Businesswoman of the Year award. And of course, this is sponsored by our good friends at Nishnawbe-Aski Development Fund. Arlene, will you please join me on stage? I like this. I like this a lot. I like this. Recently highlighted in national posts as one of Canada's top food stops. Titled Roadside Satisfied. 6 cross-country food stops worth pulling over for. Kukum's Bannock Shack, where tasty fried bread on a menu at Dryden's restaurant. Owners Bruce Dowswell and Josie Rassicott are from Eagle Lake and Lac-de-Mille-Lac First Nations. I'm Cree, okay? Give me a break, I'm Cree. It's Nishnawbe. I have no problem saying Moose Factory. Having been truck driving for 10 years, the couple took a camper and made it into a kitchen on wheels and officially opened for business May 9th, 2012 as Gookum's Bannock Shack. The entire menu consists of mouth-watering dishes made of bannock, from bannock dogs to deep-fried Mars bars wrapped in bannock, and famous moose balls, which is a little uncomfortable saying, but that's okay, because balls are beautiful. Moose balls are bite-sized, deep-fried bannock balls sprinkled with cinnamon and sugar and topped with homemade caramel sauce. Let's give it up for the balls. Come on! Each mouth-watering bite. The savory treats will make you happy. You pulled over. Nearing the end of the second successful summer in business and equipped with 2 shacks, open a permanent location in Golden Miles Plaza in Dryden with 60-seat restaurant. Gookum's Bannock Shack shares success has been featured on CBC Radio, CBC News, Dryden Observer, CKDR, Dryden, Q104, Kenora, Red Lake Newspaper, and also winner of the 2014 Dryden Chamber of Commerce 17th Annual Business Excellence Award, New Business Excellence. Let's give it up for the winner of the Businesswoman of the Year, Gookum's Bannock Shack! I paid my dues, time after time. I'm sorry. Why? Don't be. Okay.
Good evening, everybody. I'm very nervous and I'm not very good at this. I'm very honored to be here and to accept the award. I really want to thank some people. I'd like to first of all thank my husband for standing behind me and our staff, which they nicknamed me Chef Ramsay. But they love me. I love them. I just want to say, thanks to family, thanks to all our customers. It's been quite the ride. We just started out with a little shack. Now we're a full restaurant in Dryden, very successful restaurant. I wanted to, I'm trying to read off a paper here and I don't even know where I am. Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to my husband and my children. My children are working for us as well. A lot of our family works for us. We're very, very much family ran. Our staff as well. Our staff is not only do they work for us, we all became a family. We're all very, very close. And like I said, yeah, I'm pretty much stuck at this, I think. I'm glad this only happens once in a while here. Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for the customers, thank you for the award, thank NADF for giving us the award, and advice. I dream big. We're not done yet. We hope to be all across Canada one day, and we will be.
Dreaming big. It's one big moose ball, huh? Let's give it one more time for the Bannock Shack. Gookum style. Nice hugs over there. Well done. Excellent. Feels good, huh? Feels good. I want to thank you. We're getting there. We've got a couple of awards left. I want to thank you so much for just not eating and leaving, and just for hanging out and applauding and encouraging business development, entrepreneurship. So well done. Thank you so much. We're going to move on. We've got a couple of awards to go here. But I'd like to call upon Bereskin Airlines, Chimigwech Bereskin Airlines. Brad Martin is going to come forward from Bereskin Airlines, and he's going to present the Businessman of the Year. Brad.
Good evening. Bereskin Airlines is proud to be a major sponsor of the Nishnawbe-Aski Development Fund Business Awards for the 24th consecutive year. We take pride in the fact that our company was born in the North and continues to serve the North, providing air service to small cities that are important to our business customers who choose to live and work in the North. Our support from the inception of these awards is related to the commitment of supporting the development of Aboriginal businesses throughout Northern Ontario and the cities we serve. We understand that our business has grown and prospered with the support of our customers, and our First Nation customers have been amongst our most loyal supporters since 1963. Thank you for that support. The NADF Business Awards has evolved considerably since their humble beginnings, but all along have contributed to business development in the NAN territory. Bereskin Airlines has also evolved considerably, but we have never lost sight of our role in serving the transportation needs of the business community. From 5 flights daily between Thunder Bay, Sulikout, and service to Northern Ontario's 5 largest cities, there is no faster, more efficient way to travel between the cities we serve. On behalf of everyone at Bereskin Airlines, I would like to thank you for your past and continued support. I would like to congratulate the nominees and the recipients of the awards today. And I am especially proud to present the Businessman Award to Jason Thompson. A member of the Red Rock Indian Band, Jason Thompson is a co-owner and operator of Superior Strategies, First Nation owned, that offers quality management, consulting, and training services. Superior Strategies specializes in the delivery of successful project management, human resources, business, and economic development solutions. Superior Strategies provides these services to a variety of different sectors operating in Northern Ontario, including corporations, government business, not-for-profit entities, and First Nations and Aboriginal organizations. With over 17 years of business and management experience, Jason is a skilled executive, visionary entrepreneur, and an adroit troubleshooter. He has had the opportunity to work with some of the most advanced businesses in the forest and construction industry, and has spent time in the public arena, serving 3 terms on band council. These work experiences have allowed Jason to broaden his skills, which he applies to his business. Always demonstrating strong leadership skills throughout his career, Jason realized the importance of building and maintaining a successful team. This was most evident when his team played a role in the startup of a new sawmill complex on the Fort William First Nation. Never settling, collaborative, out-of-the-box thinker are a few adjectives that can be used to describe Jason. His commitment to continuous improvement and superior performance are second to none. Please join me on congratulating Jason Thompson on this award.
Well, thank you very much. I am definitely honored by the award. My wife often uses a couple of different adjectives in talking about me, but I won't tell you what those are. I'd like to thank NADF for the recognition. It truly did come as a surprise, and I am quite honored. I'd like to thank Bearskin Airlines for the sponsorship, as well as all the other sponsors out there. To be totally honest with you, this is a lot larger than I thought, and my knees are knocking. I'd like to thank the NADF staff for all their hard work. I noticed over the last couple of days with the Mining Ready Summit, they've been running non-stop, and they're still going. So thank you very much, ladies. Excellent job. I'd like to thank and congratulate the other award winners. Good job. Very inspirational, you know. That's one of the things that drive me every day is I want to see First Nations create more opportunity and be entrepreneurs, because that success is inspiring for me as a First Nation person, and it's going to inspire our youth. Also the nominees, you know, there's others that were nominated, they're not here tonight, or maybe they are here tonight, but again, you've taken that challenge, you've taken that risk, you are a business owner, and I congratulate you on that. I'd like to thank my family, my wife, Tara, my mother and father-in-law for making the trip from Nippigan up here. Without them and their sacrifices, it would definitely be a lot harder than what it is. It is hard. My business partner, Johnny Walker, and his wife, Stephanie Walker, I'd like to thank them. Hand up, Johnny. The Superior Strategies team, it's only just begun for us, I can tell you that. Let's give you a little insight. We have Superior Strategies, which is our health and safety project management team. We also have Aqua Energy Services, which we are growing, and keep an ear out for that one. I'd like to thank Net News Ledger for streaming this live to my family and friends back home. Awesome. Thank you. Our business is based on the principles of continuous improvement, building capacities within the communities. I honestly believe that as consultants, you know, the consultants shouldn't be going there and staying there every day and coming back. You know, let's help the communities build capacity so that we don't need to pay the outsiders to come in. We can do it ourselves. That's ultimately truly what I believe. And again, it's creating opportunities. You know, they're there. We can run these businesses. We can operate these businesses. There's no reason why you can't. And, you know, if I can help you in any way, by all means, I got my business cards, give me a call. I'll help you where I can. And like what our motto is, our success is only achieved when our customers achieve success. I think that's important, right? So it's about, you know, we want to achieve and understand your expectations, and you know, that's when success is achieved. So thank you very much, and again, I appreciate the award.
Jason, right on. Let's give it up for Jason one more time. Saw a bunch of people in the crowd when you mentioned your partner Johnny Walker. A bunch of guys went like, start quoting. What's that dude? Yeah, Thorgood, right? Yeah, George Thorgood. Okay, right on. Thinking out of the box. I love that. Throw that box away, man. Throw it away. Come on. Throw that box away. We're good to go. We got one more award tonight. And I know it's hard to say goodbye, but we got one more award. I'd like to call upon again from NADF, once again. Might as well just consider my co-host this evening, Arlene Mikas Young, the chair of the board. Let's give it up one more time for Arlene. Come on.
The Executive of the Year award is for an organization, and it's a fairly new award. So on behalf of NADF, I'd just like to present this award to Darlene Anjukaneb. Darlene has worked for 15 years with Equewak since 1999 as a project leader for the Nishnawbe Women in Self-Government Project. She empowers women of the remote northern communities by facilitating workshops on self-government, starting women's groups, family violence, and leadership. Having successfully expanded Aboriginal women's political participation to the regional level for the women of 49 Nishnawbe-Aski Nation communities who are now represented at the NAN Chiefs meetings through the formation of the NAN Women's Council. She was instrumental in the work to increase women's participation, self-government, and governance. And an honorable mention award from the Ontario Federal Council, OFC, was presented to Ikwewak in June 2005 for recognition of the accomplishments of the Nishnawbe Women and Self-Government Program. The goal of the Building Aboriginal Women's Leadership Project is to increase the number of Aboriginal women in leadership positions. Darlene is currently a mentor for Aboriginal women with Para Centre Women for Women's Enterprise, a member of Coalition for Healing and Reconciliation in Indian residential schools in Sulakaut. Darlene also donates to the Second Chance Pet Network and to the Sulakaut Out of the Cold Shelter. Darlene was also a judge for the Juno Awards in 2012 for the Aboriginal music category. Since 2006, Darlene was employed as a project coordinator for Ikwewak's Women in Leadership Project and a proposal writer. Since February 2014, Darlene has been the acting director for Ikwewak. Darlene has overcome many challenges such as the relocation program, residential school, and is still able to show leadership through her work and accomplishments. Please join me in congratulating Darlene Adjikina.
Bonjour, good evening. Such an honor to be here amongst you great people. Yay! I would like to thank Sandra Williams for nominating me. She works at NADF, and she used to be a director of Ikwewak, so she knows the challenges we face as a women's group. Sandra, stand up. Thank you to the Nishnawbe-Aski Development Fund for providing me with this award. As many of you know, Ikwewak is an independent women's group serving 31 remote First Nations in Northwestern Ontario. And being an independent women's group means we do not belong to the provincial or national women's organizations. This means we do not receive core funding and presents some difficulty operating as an organization. So we have little monies for administration. So just to let you know, we do accept donations. And this is great because this is a business gathering. So I'm hoping you'll dig deep sometime. Okay, so Ikwewak's been in operation since 1989, and this year we've been celebrating our 25th year as an organization. I'm cutting my notes short. I'm happy to accept this award, and I'm reminded of women who began the organization long ago. And accepting this award as an executive in a business setting, I wasn't sure about that kind of, being in that kind of environment, because we're mostly concerned with social issues. Getting an award just means I have to work harder. So thank you.
I like that, huh? Putting a little bit of pressure on herself. But tonight, we owe her a huge round of applause for the work she does. Right on. Most of us in the room did not receive an award tonight. I didn't receive an award tonight. But I feel good. I feel like I got something in return. I feel happy. I feel like I'm part of something very special. When people come up and very, very heartfelt are touched by your generosity, by being here. It feels good. If you did not receive an award tonight, I want you to stand up. And I want you to give a huge round of applause for all the winners. Come on, get up. Let's go. As my dad would say, he's a minister, you may be seated. He would say that. He would. Now it's time, of course, to have a huge shout out to all of our sponsors this evening. I would like to individually call all of our sponsors up, starting with the bronze level. I'd like to call upon Lakehead University. They're getting ready for class tomorrow. Thunder Bay Community Economic Development Commission. They are working at the speed of business. Wawate Communication Society. Rick, come on, man. Check out that helmet. Safety first at Wawate Communications. Shout Media! Shout Media, you here? That was good. Really good. Cheetos LLP! MNP LLP. Let's thank our bronze sponsors one more time. Come on, give it up. Silver sponsors. TD Bank. Are you here, TD? Right here. Thank you, TD. De Beers Canada. Wheeler, Maloney, Nelson. There we go. Thank you. Thank you again to our silver sponsors. Now for our gold sponsor, Hydro One Networks, Inc. Thank you. Thank you. Let's give a round for the gold sponsor, huh? Diamond sponsor, K-Corp. Woo! again, our diamond sponsor. Come on, let's go. Right on. Nancy Wood. It's her birthday. We're going to do this my way. And whenever I do this, you're going to say, to you. Check this out. And say it. Hey, get off your Facebook, man. Look here. Unbelievable. So let's try this out. Okay, so when I duck my head, you're going to say, to you. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Happy birthday. To you. Happy birthday. To you. Happy birthday. To you. Happy birthday. To you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. To you. Happy birthday, Nancy. Get out your tickets. If you're wondering what the tickets are, you don't have one. So don't worry about it. On your tickets, there should be a number, and the corresponding number is on the opposite side, which was torn off, which is in here. Got it? Okay. We do have door prizes. Gilleby? Okay, good. Here we go. I'm only going to read the numbers once. 039. How many do we have? Come over here. Come on up. Proof of ID is required. Or a status card. 139. Bingo! Oh! Cultural relevance in the background. Thank you, Brian. 033. Oh, okay. 127. Oh, right up front. No one's happy for you. Guilted into it, huh? 137. It's nice to see someone genuinely happy to receive a prize, huh? Usually people are kind of too cool. 113. We got close, we're close. Right over here, nice and quiet. How many more? 2 more. #031. Over here. What's the prize? My hair. There you go, man. Take care of it. One more. 014. Up next, I'm really, really honored to call upon Helen Cromarty from the Dennis Franklin Cromarty Memorial Fund. Helen.
It's great to be back here again, and as usual, I'm up here with my little shadow. Her name is Anne Jordan McDougall, my granddaughter. Her given name is Kaudapinaganoj Chinyiganich. She was chosen to lead. And she is working on that. She started. She had started since she was about 4, giving the donations to the 2 high schools. So she's well on her way. But I want to thank everybody again, and I know every year I come up and thank you. There are years when I wasn't able to come. Now I'm retired and I have all the time to come and talk to you. But usually at the end of the evening, it gets quite late. But what I wanted to do is, since the program started, you have funded 193 students, and this year we hope to be hitting 200. We do have 2 of the students in the crowd right now at our table. We have one is a nursing student. She has completed her nursing, and she will have to write her RN exams. Evangeline King, would you stand up, please? And the other student is Pamela Angies. She's in kinesiology at Lakehead University. Congratulations. But over the years, with the funds that you have generously provided, you have provided funding to PhDs, doctors, lawyers, social work, linguists. So you should be very proud of yourself for the accomplishments you have made, that you have helped the First Nations. The other thing I wanted to tell you is, it's been 21 years since Dennis left us, and that's a lot to achieve, especially when it's so difficult these days and very hard for students to lead their communities to get a post-secondary education. What I wanted to do was just tell you a brief story about why I have been supporting this, why I have been involved with the education. This past year, I retired from nursing after 45 years, and it wasn't easy getting to nursing. Spending 11 years in residential school, almost, or I shouldn't say almost, but hardly ever getting home to Satchko. To me, Satchko is still the center of the universe. And but in all the years of going to school, there were times when I felt so separated. I felt so alone. But there was that opportunity presented to me, and I took it. Years later, I found out that Dennis was doing the same thing. We found out that the families we had been warded to in Sault Ste. Marie actually became our families, where we learned that education was important, where we learned to finally become a member of a family. I was 5 years old when I left my family. But the other strength that both of us had was being alone. We developed that into a strength. And the hardest part was getting any money to live on. I went into nursing in 65, and all of the students within the nursing school, I'm of the old school where nursing schools were of the hospitals. And we were given an allowance of $15 a month. How many of you can live on $15 a month now? Can you live on $15 a week? A day, Ron? No? It was very difficult, but that's what we had. And again, all of us took that opportunity. So when you think about the 193 students you have provided with, we give them a lot more than $15 a month. And the stories that have come back, the letters that they've written. When I was in Sioux Lookout, one of the parents came up to me and said, "Are you Helen Cromarty?" And I said, "Yeah." And she started to cry. She said, "You gave money to my daughter this year for her education. She was so broke, she couldn't pay her hydro. She said, I had used up my money helping her pay hydro, and I in turn didn't pay my hydro. So when that money came, she paid for both our hydro, and that got us through Christmas into the new year. So there are many heartfelt stories that have come back. And a lot of them, like I said, the achievements that they have made. It's those things that you have to remember. And I have to thank you again, and I want to convey my heartfelt congratulations to all the recipients. And of course to all the students. And I think we'll come out begging again with our hands because we have to work on the funding for their new residents. Thank you so much for coming every year. You're great people. Very great, and I sincerely appreciate that. May God bless you.
Such beauty and such grace, huh? Come on, one more time. Especially when she looks at me and says, sexy shoes. Especially. And I really, really, really love what they're doing with Anne. And they're nurturing her for greatness. And it's not a new thing what they're doing, but it's new to this generation. It's what they used to do a long time ago. Take young people and nurture them for greatness. So we're kind of reviving an old way that has always worked. I look forward to running into you when you get a little older, Anne, even tomorrow or the next day. And like I was telling the kids today, I went to the DFC today, Dennis Franklin Cromartie School, and I had a 1 hour session with the kids in the gym, and we talked about stuff. And one of the things I talked about with the students is I talked about greatness. And I was telling the students that they're going to be the greatest generation. And I told these students that if you're not fulfill that dream of being great, I blame myself. And if these young people don't grow up like Anne to be great, we have to blame ourselves because we didn't do enough to set these young people up for success. We didn't share enough. We didn't tell stories enough. We didn't hold them enough. We didn't love them enough. So with a sense of power that we have, what do? On our last breath, we give it all away. So on our last breath, we can honestly say, I've given everything away. What has made me so rich has made me so poor. What has made me so powerful has made me so weak. That everything that I have had now belongs to Anne. Now belongs to our children. Challenge you to start giving it all away. And start setting up little people like Anne up for success. So they can be the greatest generation in the history of the world. Anne's generation will change the world. Anne's generation will be the breath that we've been waiting for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Anne's generation will be a healing, spiritual generation. But Anne won't do it alone. Anne needs you. Anne needs everybody. And why do we do it? Because we're talking about humanity. And you and I are not very far off. You and I are within the same circle. You and I have a lot more things in common because we stand together. Today, I stood in front of young people that have been marginalized and hurt, but people left with so much hope. And when we think about these young people and all the pain that they've endured, we can't help but be so encouraged. We can't help by these young people's resilience because they still come out of their communities wanting to be better. They come to the community like this and it's hard, it's scary. They want to learn. And these young people deserve a round of applause. So I pledge to do what I can to help that generation become the great generation. I said this earlier, but when my uncle passed away, Uncle Stan, Dr. Stan Ludit, the Grand Chief, they hailed him as the greatest leader. And if they're still hailing him as the greatest leader in 50 years, he'd be very upset with us. Because the greatest leaders are yet to emerge. And the greatest leaders are on their way. And it's our responsibility to fulfill that sacred, sacred commitment. So by doing stuff like this and sitting in this room and applauding and being generous with our funding and being generous with our time, that stuff is so, so important. But don't forget that these young people need a little bit more than people in the room. These young people need a little bit more of your time. These young people need a little bit more of your resources. Today, when I was at DFC, I got reminded of some of the initiatives that they want to do. So I encourage you to bring out to hold your Blackberries. And I want you to open up your calendar. I want you to mark this date because this date's really, really important. This is a really, really important date. But it's November 26, 2014. I want you to mark that in your calendar. And I want you to take that very, very seriously. And what they're doing on this date is they're having a silent auction and they need items to auction off. And with the much needed money that they're going to raise from that silent auction, they're going to be put to an exciting, absolutely incredible realization of the First Nations Trade High School, which I believe, Sharon, will be attached to DFC, correct? Will be attached to DFC. So I encourage you, put that in your calendar. And I challenge you to give something, to give what you can, and help these kids fulfill their dream of providing dignified work and being a part of the economy, and training these kids to feel good about who they are. Challenge you. The deadline for your sponsorship will be the 25th of November. And contact Sharon's in the back. Sharon, if you can just put your hand up, and if you can stand up, please. Sharon, she's the vice principal over there at DFC. Let's welcome her, guys. And Sharon, don't run away, because at the end of the evening, if you're interested in donating whatever you can talk to Sharon. Is that okay, Sharon? Okay, awesome. So, how's everybody doing? Everybody doing good? Excellent. Anne, so proud of you. Who's proud of Anne? Who's proud of Anne? So adorable, so adorable. I'm going to call upon a few more people to close off this shindig. And what an awesome night it's been. I'd like to call upon, once again, the chair of NADF. I'd like to call upon Arlene Young. Arlene Young, people!
Thank you all for coming. Every year, I feel the energy in the awards, and it's like it gives me the vision to keep on going with the development socially and economically in my community. So on behalf of the board's management and staff, I'd just really like to thank you all for coming out.
I'm going to call upon my cousin here for a sec, but just a second, Brian. I want to make one quick announcement to all of our sponsors and winners tonight. Before you leave, you're going to come around the corner here and head over to the booth, the NADF booth, and it's so important that we capture your likeness on film, so we can, of course, put it in our calendar and make a calendar and make money off you. So that's really important. So that's really important. So please, take your hardware, bring your smiles, and come on over. And even if you're not a sponsor or a winner, just come on over and make faces, and let's have some fun. Okay, so I'd like to call upon the Executive Director of NADF, Brian Davey. Brian.
Thank you very much. I'd like to just close by also thanking one of the greatest MCs that I ever worked with, and if I can, I forgot to bring the bag up. And it's a new set of hair, it's blonde. San, if you can come up here and accept this on behalf of the board and the staff. Give him a big warm. He did an excellent job tonight. Fantastic job. Didn't he? With that, I'd like to wish you a good sleep and spend a little time and network a little bit. And I just also wanted to mention the 3 members of our board that are not here this evening that are members but not directors, and that's Lillian Kitchenuhmaykoobslb and also Russell Wesley, and our great own Mr. Travis Busnell, who's sitting over here. So with that, I'll end, and good night. See you all again next year.
Next week.